Hey, so here's an example of a player that I had in a weekly tennis lesson. When this video was taken, she'd only been playing for 4 weeks. I used Spec Tennis as the first progression to every tennis skill, and I'm convinced that she developed into a much better tennis player faster than she would have had we just used the tennis racket the whole time. By using the Spec Tennis paddle and the orange dot ball first, she was quickly able to have success in every skill, build confidence, and then translate that over to the tennis racket. We started close to the net, and once she was able to complete various checkpoints, we moved further back from the net and then eventually to a tennis racket. The beauty was that she didn't have to relearn anything because she already learned the exact skills she needed for tennis just using a different tool. She was having a great time from day one, and she was actually able to rally with a friend who's at the same level. Compare this to what most tennis players go through, being fed thousands of balls from the basket and not having the opportunity to actually play tennis for a really long time because they don't have the control to rally. The other thing that really stuck out to me was that when I had her take the Spec Tennis paddle home and asked her to practice on her own, she actually did it. When I've asked tennis players to practice outside of our lessons, they don't usually do it, and one reason is because if you're an intermediate or beginner tennis player, it's very challenging to practice with your peers what you learned in the lesson. Spec Tennis, however, unlocks the ability for players to have meaningful practices on their own by giving them the right tool to have success. So it makes sense that players will actually want to put in the work when you ask them to practice. Here's an example now of the serve, which many players really struggle with in tennis, and they grow to despise it. It becomes a liability in their mind. I taught her how to serve with the Spec Tennis paddle, and she was able to make the ball in, and then as we moved back towards the baseline with the tennis racket, the quality wasn't as high, but she had already experienced what success felt like, so she had a positive outlook on serving. You can see here we even start working on some basic patterns. Had we tried to do this from the baseline with a tennis racket at this stage, it would not have been productive. But by using Spec Tennis, she was able to execute the patterns and learn how to actually play tennis rather than just how to hit the ball. This is huge because when she starts playing matches, she's not going to be that player who has a nice swing but has no sense of how to play and always loses at the 3.0 level. If you're not already using Spec Tennis as a tennis development tool, I truly think you're missing out and you're leaving a lot of player potential on the table. If you're ready to see how Spec Tennis can enhance your tennis program, send me an email, nate@spectennis.com. And remember, you're just one rally away.